Chef, doing another movie review. And I have to be honest, I was a little worried about doing a movie review. I was like, do I want to do a movie review on a movie that is obviously, what's the word? Is controversial the word? No. Um, Maybe I'll lower this a little bit. Sorry about that. Can you see me? Let's see what this says. Welcome to the live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Yeah, okay. Oh, well. I know that you can see me in color. I've gone through this before where what I see is all black and white, but when I replay it, it's in color, so no big deal. Um, my hair is kind of crazy, but I was wearing a hat all day. I've been letting the sides grow. I stopped all those weird, not weird, but stopped all the haircuts for the last couple of months because I didn't like these barbers. You go to these barber shops and you get all bumps in the back of your neck. I'm like, not with that at all. I finally finished Spaceman. I started it last night around midnight, and kind of fell asleep on it a little bit. I turned it off. It wasn't like I like I was watching it and then no, I actually purposefully turned it off, and I didn't have a chance to look at it until now. I had about 35 minutes left to go, and it was very difficult for me not to think about Adam Sandler and think about his career. And it was hard not to get out of that headspace for the first 15 minutes. I'm watching this. It's like, is this a period piece? Is this a movie from the 60s? And then you start to realize, wait a minute, this guy is in another country. Is he playing a Russian? Is he? And then you start thinking, well, he's probably one of the small hats. So it would make sense if he played a Russian, he would just be, you know, he could do that, I'm sure. And then, you start watching it and you're looking at his skin and you're like, wait a minute, what's up with this dude's face? What's up with his skin? Why is his skin so bad? And you're like, it's gotta be for the movie. This is done on purpose. Are they trying to make it look older? Or then why is he in the spaceship by himself? Why did it start with him walking in a spacesuit in the woods along a creek? Like, did a spaceship crash? Like, what's going on? So you start to realize real quick this is some sort of abstract kind of a movie. And then you realize that it's modern time. This is a current movie for a current time where things look very dated. Even the car, like, and I'm gonna go shoot fast forward to the ending. The wife is in this car, and the car looked like, something from the 60s almost, but, Russian 60s, where it was just, like almost like a Yugo, but a lot nicer than a Yugo, but just very plain and without any. So, it's like, is this an alternate reality movie? Is this a movie where we're looking into the multiverse of sorts? Is there possibly multitudes of this exact event happening at the same time? And I started to get a little bit like, oh boy, what am I watching right now? And then this man is on his ship by himself, alone. This was one of those. You're going alone on this mission. Why would anyone go to outer space on a mission to find out what the hell is that pink cloud doing, looking like it's trying to be the new Milky Way? Is that what is that? We need to have a ship go up there. It's going to take about 6 months, and when you get there, we want you to deploy these parachutes and let these parachutes collect massive information that's going to help us understand what it is we're looking at. And not only are we looking at it, the world is looking at it, and there's like this competition to get there first because we're being tailed by the South Koreans. And you're like, all right, I got this Ukrainian spaceship taking one astronaut, an aging man of sorts, to fly into this magenta. See, there's a lot magenta. That color magenta is everywhere when it comes to reality and space and all these different things. Magenta is huge in that. So what we have is we have this magenta sky that's looking like the Milky Way but more gassy, and it's hovering over Earth. And Earth is it's been there for years, and there's this race to go up there and find out exactly what it is. And I did find it odd that this man, this aging looking, bad skinned man who's overweight, is an astronaut. And not only is he an astronaut, he doesn't speak with an accent, no Ukrainian accent or Russian accent or European accent. He kind of sounds like the actor that I know him to be. And then all along the spaceship, it's just full of snacks. And these snacks are just everywhere, just like magnetized stacked packs all over the place. Like the place is a bit of a dump. It's like you see why he's so fat. And then there are the scenes where he's working out and he's like they have to work out for their muscles. The muscles deteriorate in space and they have to keep that muscle circulating else to be decaying the bones and all this kind of crap. And so they were true to the space rules, so to speak. And he's suspended and he's floating in between scenes. You can tell there's a wire harness only maybe one time. The rest of the times they look really good. And while being on this ship, his pregnant wife, who looks like she is, a 45 to 50-year-old woman having a child from this man who's in outer space, decides to live her truth and leave him in the middle of his space journey. And he's this hugely introverted man that could handle being in space by himself in this ship on this mission, but yet he still was lacking. It's like the introvert's tale of how, yes, I'm an introvert, yes, I can be alone for long periods of time, but I also still need reassurance, and I also need contact with people, and I also need to be able to have a dialogue and communicate. And even though this person is directly connected to the space station that's monitoring him, so he's being monitored by this space station, and it's just too much ceiling here. Let me just, sorry. That better? Sorry about that. So there's just, let me back up a little bit. All right. Got my Dolly Parton shirt on today. Um, so we have this dude, he's He's this huge introvert in this perfect scenario. And yet and still he still finds himself needing the touch of a woman, so to speak. You know that the scent of a woman. I just was reminded by that movie with Al Pacino. It's just this. It's like human beings kind of need each other to some degree. And this movie is saying that the most introverted of introverts, even though despite the fact that he does have a wife and she is pregnant, there was still this missing, huge missing connection that you cannot really have. And her being pregnant, and she looked ridiculous being pregnant. This woman looked like she was 50 years old. Why is this 50-year-old woman pregnant? And I guess maybe it's a play on Sarah in the Bible being old and pregnant, and they're the ones that gave birth to Isaac. But I digress from that side of the spectrum, the biblical side. And it was interesting that right around the time when his wife decided to leave him, and his space station or space command buddies wouldn't allow him to see that video log that she left for him with her dumping him. And they just avoided it 100%. And he's like, yo, I need to speak to her. And he started to kind of like, start getting stressed out because he kind of knew something was up. Mind you, this is a pregnant woman. And, he started to like kind of freak out a little bit about not having access to her. So what he did was he was suffering from toilet issues. He was suffering from the issues of the toilet. Um, and it's interesting that they keep bringing up the toilet aspects because that's one of the newer, let's say the last 15 years, it's one of the newer thoughts about space and us humans traveling in space is that if you're suspended, right? If you're suspended and there's no gravity and you're floating around all of these, you're floating around to get around, your bladder is also floating. So there's never the actual gravity that the bladder requires in order to urinate properly, because the bladder won't know your brain won't know that your bladder is full until the gravity of the bladder takes place. So this 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 um this movie had him have these bathroom issues where he was there was like this suction cup, and the suction cup was shaped like a funnel, and you could hear the sucking motion of that sound of like a almost like a vacuum cleaner sound, and it would go off, and that would make him get up and go fix it. There was always a problem with the bathroom. So the way people are saying, the people that are kind of like against space, they say that because your bladder doesn't realize that it's full, what happens is you'll get urinary tract infections because your bladder will get so full of urine that when it's time to urinate, it's almost too late, so to speak, where your body goes into like defensive modes, and you won't have, I don't know if the bladder will not explode, but you're tricking the brain. So I guess they wanted to kind of put in your mind that they wanted to put in your mind. When I say they, I'm talking about like um, consultants, movie consultants, and analysts. They might suggest that, listen, you need to put some bathroom stuff in there because people are kind of questioning how could the urine come out if. So this one is basically saying that I guess like you put your private into the suction area, and even though you're floating, maybe that'll be what it takes to get the urine out or whatever have you, out of the bladder. But I would hate to imagine that your 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 penis is inside some sort of sucking motion and it's pulling out the liquid in your bladder, and that bladder inverts or something like that. Or, I think there could be a lot of problems with that. Must be some sort of timeline, or after a certain amount of seconds, you stop immediately because your bladder is going to get inverted inside of your body, or whatever have you, from the sucking motion of this device that they kept on showing us. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. Let me just take a little peek over. Oh, it's such a mess over there. I'm such a mess. Got the cilantro out from the earlier tacos. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. And then in one of the scenes, his reaction was good. His acting was pretty good, of course. This guy is like, how hard is this to do here? You're like, can you keep a dumbfounded face? And we're gonna put this makeup to make you look old as heck. Look 65 years old before we're done. He opens up the door to this urine, this bathroom, so to speak. So much stuff is going on in this room. It's not just a bathroom. And what does he see? He sees in front of him a 5-foot spider with fur all over the spider, 8 legs, and it's about, let's say, 4 feet. And it's just hanging out in this room. He quickly closes the door to the room. He gets in touch with headquarters and he tells them he wants to do a quick diagnostic, not diagnostic, but like some sort of bug infestation sweep of the place where, he's stuck in one little area and he's wearing the suit, and then the whole place gets flooded with some sort of insect repellent, So this happens. He goes back and he realizes that this repellent it didn't work because the thing is still there. And now this thing is like chasing him all around the ship, and the thing is like, don't run. There's no reason to be afraid. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm your friend. Not I'm your friend, but like there's no. Then he kept calling him Skinny Human. Listen, Skinny Human, stop. You don't have to run. And then it's most people, I think, would turn it off around this time. And if it wasn't for me possibly thinking I might do a review on this, I kept on going. And I wasn't intrigued at this moment by this. And it had like 8 eyes, 8 legs, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it had about 8 eyes. These huge, big brown eyes. And it wasn't CG. This was like some sort of like someone made this, and someone made this in a shop in Brooklyn somewhere. It was like 5 guys. They put this thing together, and they made it out of fur, and and then the mouth, like this little things kept opening, and then inside you could see like teeth, like a human, and like human teeth. And with every time, at first it seemed like he was in the guy's mind, talking to him through telekinesis, but then and then it was huge. It had that big thing in the back that would produce like what's that called? The web and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, the spider looked absolutely scary as hell, but was speaking so softly and so calmly, and was just like, "Listen, don't worry. I'm not gonna hurt you. It's gonna be okay." He kept doing things like that. So it took only a couple of days, and this guy's like gonna fight his fears. And then he was talking with the control people, and he kept asking, "Do we have film running?" And they're like, "Oh, we kind of having problems with the film and stuff like that." Like, so he's dealing with this huge 4-foot spider having full-fledged conversations, and then this control area is telling him the cameras are not working, so we can't see you. And then he gets closer and closer to what in Star Trek we'll call it a nebula. He gets closer and closer to the nebula, and then all of the ships, like everything is failing. So now he has to figure out how to get in touch with these people from the people that run the show, his space stations or whatever. And next thing you know, he's developing like a huge friendship and talking with this, which he should be terrified of. He's not terrified of. It's like, it reminds me of like the Chinese fruit. You ever go to eat a Chinese fruit and it has like just like hair and weird colors, and you open it up and inside is like beautiful, and it tastes like super sweet, and like, oh my god, this is just amazing. This this was like that. It was like, should he be totally afraid of this insect, this spider, 4-foot spider? And then you start to realize that, wait a minute, he kind of knows the spider's not real. He kind of knows that even if the cameras were working, they wouldn't even be able to see the spider, that he's the only one that could see the spider. So the spider becomes like his therapist for some reason. He decides to never inquire about the spider's life, what it's gone through, what it's done. It's just, this is what I need you for, to help me with my sanity during this time of exploration. I have conjured you up for some reason, and now we're going to pretend like I didn't conjure you up, that you just appeared, and that you are some sort of traveler like me, and you learned my language by tapping into my database of a ship, but you never showed how you did it. You never said you did it, but this is just what I'm feeling watching this program. That he doesn't believe this thing is even real. He's just using this thing to kind of like substitute for the issues he has with his wife. And then his space station people, they approach the wife on two separate occasions. She wants nothing to do with the man. She's constantly trying to find, and she's like, yo, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not effing with this guy. And he was able to convince one of them to, or he took, after the ship lost all its ability to be what he needed it to be, the machine that he needed it to be, he got the phones working. So now he's on like some sort of landline esque phone, talking to her through the speakerphone of a cell phone, but like not an ordinary cell phone, something out of like the multiverse cell phone of our timeline and what we think their issues are as far as technology and their ability to have technology. In another way, in other words, like, this comes across as something very old and dated, but no, it's not. This is a now movie, and their cell phones look a little antiquated, but not like in a way that we've seen before. Like, it seems like these are our cell phones, but instead it has like an antenna. And so one guy, he has a phone like this, but right here it's click click, a huge antenna, so it throws off. Is this the multiverse I'm watching, or is this the way it looks now in Ukraine or wherever the hell this movie's supposed to be taking place? And I I found myself, well, this around the time when I turned it off, and then I got back to it today, where he finally talks to the wife. She's so basic, so unattractive. So is he. They're both super, super unattractive people. Um, and it's so hard. I like the leading men and leading women to be attractive. This whole, oh, we're just like you, fat and out of shape, and old in the face with crow's feet, and I'm not into that. I like beauty on the screen. So I saw that the relationship with this, he's now feeding this thing, not feeding him by hand. This creature has told him, whatever you do, don't touch me. I don't like to be touched. Don't touch me. All right, respect my boundaries. And he wound up reaching out and grabbing for the for the spider, this 4 foot spider with the big eyes and all the legs. And the spider slams him up against the wall and says, "I told you don't touch me. As a matter of fact, I've lost interest in you. Have a good life." And like just abandons the guy. This is right before he had a chance to talk to his wife, where he just poured his heart out about how much he loved her and how much she means to him. And the first time he kissed her, that first kiss was just the most amazing kiss. And if he could do it all again, he'll never like live a life where he didn't have that kiss from her. Total beta male. Total like, come on, bro. Like, really? Like, this woman has your kid. She's dumping you for whatever reason. This is not the time to do this. This is the time to suck it up and deal with it. Like, it's like these movies are so feminist where you have this woman who is just like over him for leaving her and the baby, that she's going to a week before he makes contact after being up there 6 months. She's had enough and she's dumping him. Oh, stop it, please, lady. What selfish bee is she? It was all about her because I guess it was all about him for so long. And now it's all about her. And he's even conjuring up 4 foot spiders and using them just to keep his brain from losing his mind. And let me tell you, that's called self preservation, man. It's a very important thing. Can't give up. I'm not saying you're gonna live forever, but he he then realizes that he has to continue his mission. He has a job to do here. I'm this close to this thing. It's time for me to deploy these umbrellas, and they're gonna gather up all the information. It's time for me to do my job. So he's then doing his job. He's doing it all on a landline because there was still that issue with the computers of the ship, which if this 4 foot creature learned your language and learned about humans, that means he went through all your stuff. He's the gremlin in the machines over here. Because they use the gremlin terms whenever there's electrical problem in cars and I'm sure spaceships, they got to find that gremlin that just keeps on sucking the power. Or circuit, like the circuits keep blowing. We got to figure this out. We got to find the gremlin. So that gremlin was probably this 4 foot spider that. And what's interesting is that when the spider left him and said, "I lost interest in you. You don't interest me anymore. Blah blah blah. I'm out of here." The spider pops up a day or two later and says how badly he missed him too. But the spider came from this little tiny, from this coffee, not little cup, but a big coffee cup. That 4 foot spider was in there hiding. And then it crawled out of there and then it just got bigger and bigger. So the spider could fit into a coffee cup and could manifest itself to 4 feet tall. So we're talking about this is an amazing spider. And this spider reveals that it too wouldn't want to go through this nebula, so to speak, without him. And like the spider was like, I'm sorry I left you. I would never do that again. And now they're having this moment. And now he's trying to navigate this ship to get this information so that the world, the earth, everyone in all existence here can get what they need to figure out what the hell is this that we're dealing with here. What is this thing here? What do we got here? He's here to solve this. So he starts to do that. And while doing that, the spider reveals that the pesticide that was used in the beginning when they first met, it's finally worked, where he's now ill and is ready to go. He's now on the brink of death, and he uses what's happening to him is because of some sort of what the guy did to him. So he's like even letting him know, like, it's because of you that I'm about to die, but don't worry about it. I'm always ready to go. Like, what? Why are you gaslighting me, bro? So this man, this beta man who got this old lady pregnant, this introvert who's supposed to be so comfortable up there and needed everybody at the end, he decides to he then tries to follow the spider because the spider somehow gets lifted up by these some sort of magenta entities, these little tiny orbs that were just flying around. And earlier in the movie, there was one orb, like kind of like looking around the ship, and the spaceman, he decided to try to catch it the way you would catch a firefly, and he was able to capture it in a jar, and it just traveled out of the jar, and it was able to travel through rooms and walls. Nothing was able to stop this orb from getting around. It wasn't like that X-Men character. I can only go in the other room if I can see what's in there. Nah, this thing didn't have that problem. This thing, it defied matter. It was able to move and and go through all this kind of stuff. So he decides to follow this spider, and now the spider is on the outside of the ship. It was able to go through with these orbs through the ship, right? So, you start to think, wait a minute, if this spider is real, right? If the spider is a real thing, and these orbs are now taking it with them, taking it through glass, no, and when it goes through the glass into the walls, there's no holes left behind. It's just matter and that stuff, solids. No, there's no such thing. This thing just is. It gets around however it gets around. You can't even understand it. Your brain won't even be able to understand it if they wrote it down. So now he decides to mount himself a suit and go out for a walk to get the spider. I forgot to tell you that this spider also is like reading his mind and asking him a bunch of questions about his childhood, his father, how he felt about this, that, and the other. And then it reminded me of my my wife. She told me a story today. And she was like, "Have you ever heard of that?" I said, "Baby, you told the story so good. I envisioned in my mind. I feel like I heard of it already. I feel like I've seen this story before." Because she was going to look for it on the internet. And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't even bother. I don't want to see it." She was talking about how Meek Mill and P. Diddy were wearing the same outfit, the matching shoes, matching tops, and they were taking pictures like all hugged up, smiling, but they're wearing the matching outfit. And I was like, "Whoo!" She's like, "Have you seen that?" I said, "The way you described it and the way you told it, I saw it in my mind." So this spider was able to take these thoughts that a person saw, because he even questioned the spider. He said, "Yo, I wasn't there. I didn't see that." And he was like, "No, but in your mind you saw it." So I just want to ask you a bunch of questions about what you saw in your mind and the way you pictured it. So what we find out is that not only did this man, the spaceman, need to kind of apologize to the baby's mother for the way he's been with her, he also needed to go into his memory, and in that same style of memory where you can actually see everything and have that experience. Just because you weren't there doesn't mean you didn't have that experience. This movie taps into using that experience side of the brain to actually solve major problems. And one of those things was he forgave his father. He forgave his father for whatever their issues were that led him to be the man that he is now. For whatever transgressions his father's had, like he said something about his father was like some sort of, I think his father was like a spy or something to that effect. But he was able to forgive his father in a thought, in a memory, deep into that memory. So this 4-foot spider is actually putting him through therapy and is allowing him to achieve things like, he's allowing him to make right on his wrongs. And he's allowing him to make right on his wrongs by him understanding that he has that power. You can still apologize to your dead father at the date and time that you want to do it, at the event that you want to do it, and it will be true to you enough where you're almost saving your soul, because I guess your soul is not going to be able to be saved if you still harboring certain kind of hate. So I thought that was kind of cool. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, okay, this is a thinking man's movie over here. And I kind of appreciated that, because I do know that forgiving of the parents is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's not wait for your parent to forgive you. I mean, it's not waiting for your parent to say they're sorry. It's for you forgiving them for you hating them. You got to forgive your parents for the hatred that you have for them, the contentment that you have for your parents. You have to apologize for that. Not for what happened that day. No, no, no. You have to apologize to your parents for you hating them, for you having resentment towards them. And this movie tapped on that. It was very subtle. It helps to have a IQ above 150, respectfully. So, 130 I do. You just got to remember where to move the saucer. Is it a sauce? Is it a saucer where you put the teacup on top of, or is it a flying saucer? I digress. That's a story for another day. Some people know what I'm talking about. But what we have is he exits the ship, and the people on the phone, that landline phone, they're on speakerphone. You can hear they're like flipping out. What the hell are you doing? Why are you leaving? Why are you stepping off the ship? What are you doing? Where are you going? He's out to go get his friend. He gets to get to his friend. His friend is kind of like deteriorating and dying, but snaps out of it for these like moments. It was like, I'm so glad we're here together. Come on, take my hand. And now this friend is moving through this nebula and is like, it looks, the graphics, I wasn't that impressed with them, but it reminded me of what I've been told. And that's not me trying to say that hide that I've experienced something, but and I'm pretending that I've been told it. No, I haven't experienced this. So what I've been told about DMT, okay, what I've been told about DMT is that you smoke the DMT and you go to a place like they went to. You go to this nebula style place that's surrounded in this magenta. The color magenta is just so much magenta, 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 magenta. There's just all these just different swirls of magenta, just non-stop. And there's these circular cloud-esque mists that looks like people are intertwined, but they're clouds. And if you look for a second, your mind is like almost playing tricks on you watching all this just magenta nebula porn. It's just this DMT porn is just being just pushed into your face and all this. And then there are these little tiny specks in this huge, huge sea of everything. And that's what but while before I start this, right before they needed to get the ship going, they embraced the 4-foot spider and the spaceman. They embrace in this very, very long and uncomfortable hug. So I guess when a man hugs another man, it's serious. This is what they're saying. They're saying, do not take your hugs lightly. You hugging somebody, there's a lot of power in this hug, this embrace. This was the same thing that said, don't touch me, I don't like to be touched, and then like flung him up against the wall when he touched him. Now he's like, this thing is also, in other words, before they get to this mist and magenta, they're releasing massive amounts of baggage that we all carry. Like this spider is actually releasing and dealing with all its baggage. and all the problems that it's had, because it talked about like I lost my parents, my whole world has been destroyed, this and that and the other. So like, is this thing real? Wait a minute, is it real? Is the space station people watching him talk to this 4 foot animal and lie to him that the cameras are not working? We don't know. Very possible. Very possible that space station knew exactly what was going on. Seeds was going on, and just like they hid the message from his wife, they're gonna hide the message that we see this creature all around you, bruh. Yeah, y'all getting real close. But of course, that needs to be observed. There's no way you're gonna have these space station people not observe and see what's gonna happen here. But now his ship is like, you can't even see his ship. He's so far away in space, holding hands with this creature that he's named and everything. Give him a name, some childhood name that he remembers, and next thing you know, he's they're traveling all through this DMT experience, and they're realizing that all that started and all that began is right here in this, right here where we're at. Everything that we know about the world, every thought we ever had is like in this little space here. So with that, there's this realization of what's important and what's not important, and your life really doesn't really matter. You're part of something even so much bigger than you could ever imagine. And the spider like loses its life and like kind of gives in to that moment and has that moment, and amidst to being even afraid of deaths, and you would think that this spider would not be afraid of death, but maybe by being so close to a human, it was able. Well, it said that he's lost his family, so of course it knows death. So that was kind of like, okay, I get that. That was kind of all right. At the time, I didn't think about it. I'm just thinking about it now. And then there was a thing he talked about where his father saved him from drowning, and that while he was drowning, he was aware of him drowning, and he kept seeing the lights of the sun still flickering, and was realizing that even when he goes, the light of the sun will still flicker. Retrospective kind of thinking. And then out of nowhere, this same flashing kind of light happens to be what? The Koreans, the South Koreans that were also on his tail, they're like now rescuing him from this nebula. And next thing you know, they flash into the guy on the ship, and there's like, of course, the South Koreans don't have one person manning a ship. They got like 5 people in there. Now he's wearing the North Korean outfit on the ship, talking to his wife on the phone, and they're talking about the first kiss. And if I would have known what I know now, I would have never went over here. I never would have came here. And the movie ends. And I have to say, the movie was trash. It was. It could have been so much better. What would I have done differently? I have no idea. But the movie was trash. I don't recommend you see this with anyone. If you see this with someone, you're gonna bore the living daylights out of them. Even if you're dealing with like some sort of like, if is this an introverted, Asperger movie? Is this for the Asperger crowd, the introverted crowd, the that autistic crowd? Is this for some sort of like, I don't know. And I have nothing wrong with introverts. I'm actually considering opening up uh, a restaurant, not a restaurant, but a eatery for the introverted. I got the idea from the Japanese, and I think it's such a great idea because there's so many, you know, self-proclaimed introverts out there that you're gonna walk into the place, you're gonna hit the computer, bing, 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 and you open up the shade, your food comes out, close the shade, you're in some sort of little booth, and there you go, $15. Thank you. So I just got to figure out I don't know if I'm going to do it, but something I have been thinking about. Um, so Spaceman, I give this thing like it's trash. I mean, this is a waste of What did we learn from this thing here? What questions are we going to have from it? What will we be pondering while this movie is over? Some simp pining for this basic, unattractive woman who's a selfish bee, who got no way. It's like these women just don't care. And the movie, in real life and in the movies, they just like, yo, I should have followed those red. I should have followed those red flags, girl. Uh-uh. This ain't for me. I'm out of here. Anyway, you are appreciated. Thank you very much for tuning into this. Let me see. Thank you. Don't forget, this is a value for value show. If you got any value out of the show, go to my Cash App. Okay? Go to my Cash App. $, capital ELVIS, capital ROSENBERG. One word, 2 capital letters. Express yourself. You are appreciated.